All right, we got a smaller crew today. This will actually work out cool. I'm uh I'm sitting here laughing at SFET because man, when this thing hit my scanner, I called this play to a T. I sat here and I could have probably made $5,000 just on small share size going up and going down. And I'm gonna go over it because this what it did here in the last what it did here in the last half an hour was just so predictable. Um, it did a whole bunch of things that we talk about. Who's got the beeping going on in the background?
That's me. I'm going to mute myself for a second here.
Okay, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And you could have made so much money here in this last half an hour just on this stock. It's just it's crazy to see. We'll give it
Do you call this stuff out?
I mean, a lot of times I call out stuff that I'm looking at in the room. SFET just hit the scanners a little while ago. I was busy getting ready for the session. I was making a bunch of notes, but I was just I had it up on my screen because I made some drawings and I made some lines, and I'm just like, this stock is so predictable. And I'll go over exactly what I saw on the charts because it has a whole bunch of setups that we're gonna talk about in our little review. But yeah, I try to alert everything in our room, but you never want to take someone's calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like at the end of the day, you have to know why you're getting in a trade and getting out, right? Why you're taking the trade in the first place, right? You're like, why are you taking this trade? Why are you entering here? Why are you shorting here? Why are you covering here? Why are you selling here, right? So you never want to take someone's calls, but if you're like new and starting out, like I took somebody's calls before in another room when I was first starting out, and it's probably cost me up to like probably about $1,000 because I had no idea why I was taking the trade. This person's like, long here.
How much money did you start out with?
I started out I'm fortunate enough to start with a larger account. I started with 25,000.
Oh, I see.
But the reason being is, I grinded for 10 years building up a business, right? And I sold it just recently. So, I look at it like it took me 10 years to get to that point to be able to have a larger account, right? So, I know it's tough growing a small account and, I haven't been there, right? But, you just have to take smaller share size. The way I look at it is like on a small account, the PDT, a lot of guys are under the PDT rule, but it's like, PDT can help you, right? Because you don't want to be trading every day, right? You really don't. You want to wait for your own setups that you really understand, and you want to take those setups, right? It's just the way I look at it now. Like I always, even now, like, I mean, I'm in Canada, I don't follow under PDT, but like, to me, less is more, right? The less you trade, the more focused you are on every trade you take.
I actually went off to an offshore broker, so I don't have that PDT.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. But yeah, I mean, a lot of guys overtrade. When I first started, man, I was overtrading like a motherfucker. Like it was bad. And you make a little money, you're like, okay, things are going like not even like a month and a half ago, I hit a nice wash at the open. I was up $1,000 within the first minute and a half the market was open. I thought everything was going good. I took another trade, lost $300. Well, what's the mindset? Oh, I got to get that $300 back. Took another trade, lost $400 on that trade. Well, now I'm like, fuck, I was 1,000 up. Now I'm only 700 up. Now I got to get that back. And before you knew it, my $1,000 day, I took another trade, lost again. And before you know it, that $1,000 day I was up at in a minute and a half turned into about $125 profit.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, man. Over trading can you got to know when to walk away, man, especially when you're losing. So, okay, we'll give it one more minute here, guys. I'll let whoever's going to pile in here. This might be it for today. Got some really cool stuff I want to go over.
Bro, did you see that gap fill on CLWT?
I sure did. Yeah.
I'm saying, I was like, damn, I should have taken that. Like that was so damn easy. Like
it was awesome. Are you talking about the intraday gap fill?
Yeah, intraday. It gapped up once, twice, and on the third one,
Yep.
it came down to the second gap and then
Yep.
instantly spiked up. I was like, oh wow, that's easy.
That's the trade I took today. Is I took it
nice.
on the third halt resume. I took it on. I got filled on the drop, and then it got halted on the drop, and then I was in the first halt on the way down. It opened up, resumed, it smashed down, filled the gap below on the intraday, and I sold it right there.
Nice.
So, okay, so we'll get her going here, guys. So I'm just sitting here watching SFET here in the scanners and picking up, and I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to watch the chart history. So this thing started chirping at me probably within like the last half hour. SFET, 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 right? So this thing just starts running right here. Okay, it starts running right here, and you know, the first thing I do when I was in here, I said, okay, SFET is running in post market or in power hour. Let's see where it can go. So I just immediately flip to the daily, and it's running right here, right? It's running in here. The first thing I look at is right here, 409, and then right here, right at 466. Let me bring that down. 466. Yeah. I'm watching 466 stall out. If 466 stalls out, we could potentially see a low of $3.12. See that here, right on this daily candle here? This is the only thing I was watching. And then, but on the way up, guys, did you see this? On the way up, what did it do? It formed a tiny intraday gap right here. As it was running up, I noticed this. I'm like, oh my God, it just formed a tiny little gap. You see this? Right here. It barely even closed it, right? It didn't close it. So there's a tiny little gap right here. I said, this gap needs to fill. So the first things I'm watching, I wanted to get up to 466, see how the reaction is. If we get a huge pullback off there, I'm looking for this thing to crash and to fill this gap by the end of day. First, I want to see this area crack. Second area, I want to see this level of support crack, and then I want to see this gap fill. And look at this, man. It's like clockwork. What happens here? It drops down, hits this support area here, pulls up, boom, drops again, pulls back up, boom, drops again down to this support level. Right here, I was just like, this thing's going to fucking fill. And then it drops right here, fills the gap, guys. Continues to drop, pulls back up, and then that you see how this gap level right here just automatically turned into, you know, support here and resistance here. It was such a mint play, man. And this was in the last hour of the market that this thing was running up. I don't know if you guys were watching that in the room or watching your charts or whatever, but like, it doesn't get any more clean than that. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys see that play?
Yeah. So does it have to halt in order to have a gap?
Yeah, usually yes. In this instance, it was such a tiny little gap. Like I barely noticed it. I had to zoom in on the chart. You're going to see those intraday gaps mostly in halts, you know, halt resumes, right? They're either going to gap up or gap down. Sometimes they open right at the gap level and then they push up. But I would say like probably like 90% of the time, you're going to see a gap up or a gap down on the intraday, right? Dailies, you see them all the time because in the mornings, right, we're looking at our gappers, like stocks are gapping up and gapping down, right? So we have gaps in the daily chart. And that's where we use the daily chart to signify areas that it can, you know, on the downside, it can bounce. On the upside, it can reverse. So SFET was a prime example of an intraday gap fill. You know what I mean? It was a target area and also history, guys, repeating itself. All you had to do was look at this candle right here when this thing was running up. You say, I'm going to wait for this thing to hit 466 and look what it does when it reacts. So, you know, what does it do when it reacts? It hits here. Okay, we have a little bit of a pullback. And then this guy tells a story right here. It breaks through a tiny bit and then gets slammed down. So where would you go short? I would go short right here on this lower high. As soon as this candle opened right here, I would be short right here. I would like to be short right here, but I'm not sure. I don't have confirmation yet on this candle that, you know, that we're getting the pullback, the huge pullback. This is the huge pullback. And initially, I like it to come up and retest this 466 for a second time. We didn't get there. And what did it do? It got here, formed a lower high right here, and immediately pushed down to the downside. Just like on our daily, gets up here, closes weak. What happens when it hits 466? It closes weak. This closed at the lows. This was all done in the last hour. What did this thing do? It didn't close at the lows, but it closed hella weak. You know what I mean? So you see when this thing runs, this thing always gives back its gains, right? It gives back its gains. Sometimes it closes red, but you can for sure bet that this thing, the overall trend on the stock tells you that it gives back its gains when it runs and closes at the lows. Didn't have enough time to close at the lows, but what it did was fill that intraday gap. And remember what we talk about intraday gaps, they tend to fill on the same day and they tend to fill quickly. And then we have, we have a perfect example right there. Perfect. So that was SFET, and that was the last hour. It was a pretty cool play. A few things I want to go over today, guys, is some things that you could possibly add to your longing or shorting when you're looking at plays. Specifically, moving average pullbacks, bull flags, and bear flags. I'm sure you guys have seen them before, but I just want to go over examples, especially the moving average pullback, because they can tend to, if you start looking for them, they will basically appear out of nowhere. Okay, let me just get to the questions here. So when you're looking for important points, you count the tops or bottom of the wicks as well. Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at the wicks for sure, right? So this guy told me that if we top out at 466, there, Skits, right here, 466, I will highlight this area too as well. I'll do that, and I'll do the close, and I'll do the bottom of a wick. If I'm focusing on this daily chart for history to repeat itself, I want to see what happens. Like if I draw a line right here, and I'm going to show you some stuff that's going to blow your mind on that stock we traded today. When I went into the chart history during the day, I was like, wow. So I just want to see what 436, 437, if that was actually valid today. Well, look at this. We just drew 437. That was that opening price on that day's candle. Well, look at this. That price level came totally into play today. You see that? So like I always say, God, the chart history tells you everything you need to know about the stock, where it can move, where it can top out at, where it can drop to, where you can take profits. Sometimes we don't get a clean daily candle to go off of if the stock's running. At the end of the day, we always refer to our intraday action. Okay, that's just the way I do it, right? Got it. There were times I always had two levels on point, as I wondered if something you did as well. Yes, if I'm referring to an absolute daily candle that I'm looking for history to repeat itself on that day, then I'm going to mark out all those points on the daily candle, and I'm going to watch my intraday action to see if those areas are coming into play on the current day's action, if that makes sense. So that was SFET. I thought that was pretty cool. Now I want to go into this bad boy right here. This was fun. I was shocked when I actually went into the daily chart when this thing was running. I took the one play on it, and I'll get to my one play that we did on the halt resume drop. But CLWT, I was getting flustered because I was trying to get a gauge on where's this stock going, right? I think we were all trying to figure that out in the chat room. Where is this stock going? Because it's just running, pulling back. It's just going crazy. So what I did, guys, check this out. I went into the chart history. I'm not even going to look at, I don't want to look at today's intraday action yet, because this is what I did. I took all my lines off and I went way back in the chart history. When was the last time the stock was like really running, active? It was in this area right here, okay? It was in this area right here. So then I went in here, guys, and I want to mark out some levels just in these daily actions right here. And I'm going to mark out some areas of interest, okay? This area interests me here because we have a pivot point in the stock, okay? I also want to mark out, where was I? I think it was like 870s area. 871, yes, right here. 870s, you can clearly see that the stock was playing off this a whole bunch of times. Okay, do we all see that? hitting this 870s on top of it. This 870s to me is a pivot point in this area. Okay. I also had, I believe it was like 960s. Where is it? It's right here, right here. So then the top of this price channel, you guys all see this? It's making sense to you where I'm marking out these trend lines. So I got that one, and then I wanted to mark out, there's somewhere in the 10s here. I think it was right here, 10, is it 1080s? 1049.
Hold on.
1050, 1050, here we go. I want to mark out 1050 right here. And I believe that was it that I wanted, that I marked out. Oh, 1160s we got. And then I went higher too. I went up to 13s, I believe right here. Right in this area right here. Okay, so do those, you guys see why I mark these on the dailies? You can say yes on the mic, you can type it. Does that make sense to you guys, what you guys are seeing?
Yep.
So these are all pivot points, as you can see in the daily, right? This is back in 2009, 2010. So the last time the stock pushed up into these areas on the daily traffic, this is where the stock was reacting on the price points. Now, when I did this, I clicked the 1 minute chart and it from here, and I went back into today's intraday action and watch this, guys. Watch this. Fucking crazy, hey?
Damn, it's crazy.
Crazy. I went back in there and I was like, wow, man. And this is when the stock was pushing up. I got it right when pretty much.
Michelle, come here.
What's that?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What'd you say?
Oh no, I was calling. I just noticed something really good, and I wanted to share that with my girlfriend real quick.
Oh.
That was what you did was just genius.
Yeah. So when I flicked it into the intraday action, like my jaw dropped, man. I was like, holy shit.
Mine just did too.
Yeah. And it was, I did this right when it was pushing up here, and I wanted to short this, but there wasn't any shorts available for me to borrow by this time, right? And micro float, it's just running. So I wanted to see on the downside if this thing was really going to top out at the 1160s. And look what it did. As soon as it got to the 1160s, it double topped, guys. Boom, lower high. This is where you could have gotten short. I would have been really confident right here that this was it. As soon as I saw all this is telling me that all that history from 8 years ago is all about to go down here. It's been valid all day long. I just wasn't able to pick it up until almost it was too late and I couldn't get shares. But look at this, it double topped. Yeah, go ahead. What's that?
Why do you think that is? That it's like so predictable from the past history?
It's just the way these stocks move. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know how these stocks get their price points. Like, I don't know how these stocks are traded, like at the stock exchange and everything. Is this all quants? Is this all computer generated? Like, I don't know. But as you go back in the chart history and you focus more and more on the chart history, the more you'll see that the history repeats itself all the time, man. You just have to be willing to dig into the charts and try to recognize the patterns. But this today fucking blew my mind. But I just saw it too late. You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody could have gotten shares by this time up here. Maybe, possibly, depends who your clearing firm was. I wasn't able to, so I didn't take it, but I didn't want to touch it anymore. I made my play on it and it was just too wild. But this, I would have been super confident up here. And you see what happened? As soon as we got the double top, what did we do? We had a big pullback from that area that immediately tells me, okay, history's repeating itself. Try to break out here, try to break out here, try to break out here, try to break out here. Big pullback, bearish candle, lower high. You could have gotten short anywhere on these 4 candles. And as soon as you did, man, you had a 33. Oh my God, you had a massive drop. You had almost over a full point drop right here. You're in full control. And then what does it do? It comes down and tests this 985 area from 2009. What happens? It consolidates here and then drops down to the next price level from 2009. So like, I don't know. It was just crazy how this happened today. It absolutely blew my mind. The one trade I took on it, guys, was right here. I got filled. So we were pushing up here, guys, right? Remember what we talked about last time? Pushed up, we got halted here. What happened? It gapped up, pushed up, got halted here. What happened after we halt resumed? Gapped up, pushed up to here, got halted again. It opened here, opened right here, came back down, and we got halted right here. So I got filled, I think, right in here in the 940s. I was right in here by the time I got filled. So like this happens in the intraday, guys, we have gaps to fill in the chart now, right? This hadn't happened yet, so I won't draw that yet. So what I did is I said, okay, if this thing opens lower, we gap down even just a little bit. I'm just looking, because how crazy the stock is trading, I'm looking for this thing just to drop, fill this intraday gap right here, and I'm gonna get out. And that's exactly what I did, because what happens when gaps fills, guys, they tend to either close and go, or they're gonna bounce and reverse. This thing ended up bouncing and reversing. So even if you didn't get that play on the halt resume, you could have been watching for this gap to fill and longed the bounce. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
So you could have just waited. This thing, it gapped down. This is where it opened right here. So I closed as soon as this thing came down, went up here, closed that gap, and I said, I'm out. And then it automatically bounced right back.
Yeah, I was just thinking of taking the trade. See, so it opens on the, it fills the gap, and then it comes down. And I was thinking of getting it on that testing candle there.
This one right here?
The red one right after
here. Yeah. Going long?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could literally take this for the break, the first candle to make the new high, right? So you could have gotten in, you could basically longed it right there for the quick pop, right? Here, it would have been a tough one because he pushed down. You might have gotten stopped out right here. But once this candle closed, you could just wait for the first candle to make the new high, which would have been this guy right here. He pushed up, made the new high, closed right here. You still would have been in the trade, but this is the one where you would have made your money here, right here, if you were patient enough with the trade, right? Just like Mike says, 3M rule. That was your third candle right there. 984, 916. So there's a nice, 60-cent move, 70-cent move. Just on that candle alone. So yeah, you can definitely play these. Like I said, you can always play them to the long side, guys. Now, did this candle end up filling yet today? This other 743? Look at that, guys. Later on the day, once we started reversing to the backside, this gap right here filled. And what did it do? As soon as it was pounding down to the downside, again, this gap crashed through here. This gap level turned into resistance. And what's it going to do? If it can't break out, it's going to break down. It's going to go down to the next support level. Where's the next support level? Right here at this gap fill area. It filled the gap. What did it do? It consolidated, couldn't break through, busted up, back up to the upside. And where did it find resistance? At the previous intraday gap fill level. So it's just consolidating now between the two intraday gap fills. Does that make sense to everybody? So you could have played this action a whole bunch of ways, but I was sketched out. By the time I got out of the first trade, I was like, I'm leaving it alone. And then I didn't catch this trend until, like I said, it was like near the top. And then I just had enough time to watch this. But if
What was your trade today?
I caught it at the halt resume here.
On the first one or which one?
No, pushing up. So I caught it on the way down. So this was the third halt right here. When it halted right here, this is the third halt. Usually on the third halt, I'm looking for it to go to the downside, right? And that's exactly what it did. I got filled right in here and got halted on the way down. And then I sold it as soon as we closed the gap right here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I got out, and it was just too sketchy for me to play anymore. It was, I mean, these candles were huge, man. Like, look at some of these candles. The range on them were huge. 965, 886. Like, we're used to seeing like 30-cent candles, right? Like these things are moving like like a large cap.
So I
So,
played the second halt today. Got 835 before the second halt, and then got out. I think it was 880 right before it ripped to like 940. But
oh, you got
it's okay.
on this one right here?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a nice candle. I mean, I want to long these, right? But I'm like, I'm so short biased that I don't touch them, even though, I should be playing them, because the good thing about long is that you don't have to pay for locates, right? But that was a nice trade.
Thanks.
Very nice trade. 1, 2. Always be wary though. Like if it halts here, don't be trying to long it after the third halt, right? Third halts become so sketchy. And I think that's two days in a row now that we've had the third halt and they've gone a big dump. The last one I took was a halt resume. I forget what ticker it was. Was it? It wasn't. Yeah, it was CTRM, I believe. And took the halt resume on the third one. Had a nice dump. But that was CLWT today. It's I'm just wanted to show you guys that it pays to go back in the chart history, right? So this stock, just so you guys know, this stock wasn't running in any kind of price range until I had to go way back, right? Like it was running. So like, I'm trying to find out when was the last time this stock ran. Oh, these fucking charts drive me insane. When was the last time this stock ran in this price direction, right? So we had to go quite far back, right? Like look how far I'm going back here. And I didn't find anything until, right in this area right here. But once we were breaking up here, this is why I focused on this area here to see if I can identify some key pivot points and some trends in this little area here. And that's how I got it on the intraday. So cool stuff to learn. It was pretty cool. So the next thing I'll just stop for a sec. Does anyone have any questions? So once skits, here we go. So once the stock is approaching the gap fill, you're looking directly at the tape when it comes to predicting the next move. Yes, I'm looking for the tape, but I'm really paying attention to the candles. I'm really paying.
About the candles, I've noticed that because I'm a newer trader, and I've just kind of been paying attention and watching and seeing what you guys are talking about, how it plays out in the market.
Yep.
So I've seen this happen a few times where it literally went right back to price levels, knowing that and trusting in it's that it's gonna do that, not necessarily putting full stock in it, but knowing that that's where its magnets are going to be, and that's where potentially, and then looking at the tape and level 2 to see strength or weakness to the ups or downside.
Yeah.
I mean, how risky is it to play these plays, like even on the backside, when you know that, hey, well, look, it's more than likely gonna drop down to this next price level. It might probably be a good time to short. I'm seeing weakness on level 2, and I'm seeing weakness in the chart.
Yep.
It is on the backside. I know Mike talks about all the time, like it's way too risky to snag on the backside.
Yeah.
Take backside moves, but
yeah. Are you talking about backside on, like you're talking about shorting to the backside of the move? Or
well, either shorting or longing, because with CW or CLWT, what you just showed was like you could long or short both of them if you went back and found the information, because I mean, like it literally was right on point. Yeah. And I've seen that happen, before. So I mean, essentially, how risky is it? I mean, if you're a ballsy guy, I mean, you take it.
Yep. So I'll let you know on one thing. So this thing had a total. What was its float? Do you guys remember what the float was on CLWT today? Let me just see if I can find it here on.
Like 960,000.
Yeah, it was a micro float.
It was under $1 million.
Yeah. So when you have a situation on a micro float that's pushing up and going crazy, and it's trading, look at the daily volume that this thing usually trades. You see this down here?
Yeah.
It trades.
It was 913,000.
Yeah, there you go. So sub-million, so micro float. This thing trades nothing on the regular, and today went 17 million shares. You know, at the end of the day, I would usually avoid a stock like this because it's just going to be too wild, man. There's too many eyes on the stock, and it's trading way too much more volume for it to react in a way that you can identify on the trend, right? So like on SFET, let me just go back to SFET. SFET, the move was super predictable, right? And it was super predictable. Let me just check the daily volume. Well, SFET was actually trading a lot more. That's a surprise. But this thing traded 4 million shares compared to 17 million when CT when it usually trades something like, I don't know, like 200,000, 300,000 that this stock usually trades. Like, what does it usually trade? What's its average volume? I'm just saying, like, on a micro float like this, you just have to be careful, man. I tend to avoid them because they move in price increments like large caps. Like they'll move 80 cents, a dollar, 65 cents on a candle, and it's hard to gauge an entry, especially if you're using some size. It's tough, man. It's really, really tough. So to answer your question, yes, it can be risky. It can be risky on the way up. It can be risky on the way down, right? You just have to be aware of what you're doing. Best case scenario is just to avoid a stock like this, you know, at least on its first day. Tomorrow, you know, like, look at this, man. We closed red. It's probably still fading right now in the aftermarket.
Yeah, with so much attention on it today, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
going to open on like wildfire tomorrow.
I highly doubt it. I think it'll either gap down. It might gap up. I'm going to look for this thing to gap down tomorrow and close the gap on it and look to short it to the downside to fill the gap below. We'll see what happens tomorrow in the pre-market, what this thing does. But, you know, this thing closed hella weak after running like nuts. You know, I'd like to see a small gap down, a quick pop to fill that gap, and then reverse to the downside. But we'll see pre-market what happens. It could gap up tomorrow, but we'll see. But
So,
yeah.
So the gap fill, do you say they happen every day? I never heard anyone explain it that way.
Oh my God, they happen so much. I'm going to show you some examples right now of gap fills that happen on different tickers today, and how often intraday gaps happen on halts. So if you guys have a scanner that scans for halts, like I have a halt scanner, so I can see everything that's getting halted, especially at the open. That's when you want to hit those things at the open, is when all the volatility is there. So
that's through Trade Ideas?
Yeah, through Trade Ideas. But I'm sure you might be able to, if people have TOS or something like that, you should be able to put together a halt scanner. I'm sure there's a way. But yeah, I use Trade Ideas. I have a halt scanner on it.
You recommend Trade Ideas?
I love it, man. I get so many plays off it. Like I have this momentum scanner that, you know,
Right.
I built up, and, you know, I get so many plays off the momentum scanner because I can see everything that's coming in. I can see what's getting volume, and then I can quickly bring up that stock. You know, it gives me time to check the daily, you know, get the info on it and see what's going on. Every week I probably get like, you know, 5 or 6 solid plays just off the momentum scanner. Last week was great. I had like 3 or 4 really good winners just off the momentum scanner. But yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. So there's a strategy that I've seen some people do on like stocks like CLW2. If it was to gap up and like squeeze all the shorts out, like people now, if this does gap up, what people look for is all the shorts are looking to cover because they're underwater. You know, after a stock closes weak and then gaps up, none of the shorts are expecting it, so they have to cover at the open, and then it has like a huge short squeeze at the open. And that's typically what I look for in stocks too, that close to the week have a weak close and gap up. You know.
Yeah, you could have a big panic pop at the morning there for sure. I mean, this thing closed so weak. I could see them trying to gap it up in the morning, try to scare the shorts out of their position. But I think the overall move tomorrow will be back to the downside. I mean, And if you need confirmation, you know, obviously just check the chart history, guys. Look at the chart history, what it does, right? Like, what does it do when this thing runs, right? What does this thing usually do? It runs, you know, closed fairly weak, gains back a lot of its gains. Next day, well, look at this. Next day it had a gap up, but then it closed super weak, right? This day it ran, closed fairly strong, had a gap up, closed at the lows. So I always refer to the chart history to try to give me an idea of what's going on. Tomorrow I have no idea because this stock just traded wild. I'll just see what it gives me, man. See what it gives me, and then we'll talk about it in the room and how we can attack it. And this thing also closed the gap here today too. You see that thing right here, 767, closed that gap there as well. We had a gap here as well at 732 that closed. You see these guys on the daily over here. So those also closed today. This thing just did damage all over the place. But let me show you a few more examples here of the gaps, just how often they happen during the day. So we saw that. We saw SFET. Let me bring up CLWT. We went through that. PCG. Check this out, guys. What did PCG do today? PCG had a PCG. What did it do? It dumped. Where did it dump to? It got to this gap fill right here, guys. See this gap fill right here? Needed to fill 1556. Let's check out the intraday action and see what it did. So
it was a gap close reversal, huh?
You betcha. Look at this fucking beauty, man.
Damn.
Yeah, look at this. So at the morning, you could have rode this, shorted this, rode this all the way down with in mind that if it's pounding down to 1556, that's your target to get out because you could just see a massive bounce. What did it do? It just touched 1556 and immediately shot back up. That's like as beautiful as you get, man, with these plays. That's just an awesome curl gap close reversal. It's so nice, man. And there you go, another double bottom right here. But you know, if you were shorting this, typically I would cover by the time this gap close, you know, hit, because you usually can get pretty violent bounces off it, and you can see how much volume was coming in here. You know, the stock tends to trade pretty heavy, so that was.
Can you show me what gap close it was at the 1556 mark?
Yes, sir. Here, I'll zoom in on it right here, sir.
Oh, okay, now I see it.
Yeah. So, baby, that wasn't a good one. I'll pull it down a little bit. Whoops. I didn't draw that line very well here. Let me just draw it again. Just pull it down a little bit.
That close to the penny.
Yeah. Oh, so nice, man. There we go. There we go. 1549. Hi. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, guys. I don't know why this is.
Is that what happened with AVYA on Monday? I shorted that.
I believe so. Yeah, let's have a look here.
I didn't notice it was a gap fill, though.
Let me just have a look. I'll show you a couple more gap fills that we did. When did you play it?
I believe it was Monday. I think
Monday was the 20th. Monday it had, I mean, there was a, oh, you're breaking up. I can't.
17, 12. I shorted 16 or Tuesday. Maybe. I think it was Monday or Tuesday.
I see a gap fill right here at 1775 on this daily right here. It could have been this day. Is this where you played it right here? On the 26th? I mean, but it closed right at that level right there. Possibly. But that was the gap fill level.
It could have been the 26th. Yeah, I think it was Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah.
So back to my broker. Yeah.
It's probably that way. Your connection's breaking up pretty bad there. It's kind of hard to hear you. Another one today, guys, that we were watching was me and Joe were watching was 5. We had it on our list, and look at this, guys. Here's the gap fill right here, guys. Right here. Boom. So on the intraday action on this thing, when it filled the gap, you could have played this on the short for a reversal. You also could have taken the reversal for the long, right? So what do we got here? 930. 930, what does it do? It dumps, right? You're close to that gap fill level. What does it do? It almost gets there, pulls back, comes back down to the lows, pushes back up, huge rejection right here. This stock ended up pretty strong, man. It kept trying to break this thing. It kept trying to gap close and go, but it was a nice push up to the gap level. I thought this thing ended up being reversing. No, it didn't. But now that it's filled that gap, you know, we're going to keep an eye on it tomorrow. KSS did a gap fill today. Okay, let's check out KSS. Let's see what's up. See if we can identify something. KSS, what did it do? Closed here. We opened here. Oh, so this is a gap close and go to the low. So here's a good example of a gap close and go to the long side, guys. So previous day close is right here. In the morning, we gapped up here. Here's VWAP. So we opened here and we closed down here. So it filled the gap where it came from today. So let's check out the intraday action and see what happened. And let's just review what happened today. So nice example of a gap close and go. So 71.41. Let's just go back here. 71. So we got to our high. Okay, so we got to our high, and what did it do? It came down. Here's our gap. It pushed right through. What is this? 77.1 here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that's just the open. Okay, so pushed up, hit our high, came back down, tested the open price. What did it do? It pushed through the open. So now that it's pushed through the open, it curls around, it tests the open price for resistance now. We want support to turn into resistance. It turns into resistance. What's it going to do? If it holds resistance, it's going to continue to push lower. Hugs the 9 EMA, pushes right down to the gap close level. What does it do? You could have been watching this for a reversal, a quick pop to the upside. That's exactly what it did. And then it came back down, retested this gap close level, busted through, turned into resistance, and continued to the downside.
Where would you have gotten for the reversal there, and then where would your stop have been?
So my reverse, this is our reversal right here. Okay, so we come down right here. If I'm looking to long this thing, technically I want to long it for the break of the candle, but this candle's huge, right? So this would be a tough reversal play, because technically I'd want, you know, this candle to be like the size of this candle, right? I don't want a huge candle like this. It's tough. So like how big was this candle? 70.21. It wasn't like that big, but it looks huge. So basically, you know, I might have longed it right here for the break of this body right here to push up, using the previous close price as pretty much as my stop. So if I can let this candle close, again, you're just watching price action. So I would let this candle close, and then if we opened here, makes a new high, goes to push up, I'd be risking previous day's close, and I would probably look to take profit somewhere along here. If I wasn't watching this stock and don't have a plan for it, you know, I'm looking to take profit, you know, pretty quick. So, I mean, that would have been a nice trade too. 02 up to 20, you know, you get 25 cents on it, like still a nice trade. But then it turned around, you know, retested our gap fill level and then continued to the downside. But the volume really dried off here, right? I mean, your big meat of the move was actually the push down to the gap close level. But again, you did get a big reaction, a nice reversal on it. Anybody else see any gap closes here? I don't have anything else as far as gap fills today. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more. Joe, did you see any? NVIDIA did today, didn't it?
NVIDIA did, yeah.
Didn't NVIDIA? Yeah, okay. So NVIDIA, what did NVIDIA do today? So NVIDIA
Had a small gap up.
Yeah, had a tiny little gap up, you know, so it gaps up in the morning, previous closing price right here. So it's got a gap to fill here. So NVIDIA was a tough one to play. Joe and I think another guy Corey did really well on it. So again, pushes up, comes back down. By the time it gets to this gap close level, it busted right through, came back and retested it. It's kind of an ugly, hard chart to play at this time of the day. This is lunchtime, man. You don't want to be playing anything during lunchtime. in the market. You know, you're just fighting computers, man. You want to get things at the open, but I hope the gaps are starting to make sense to you guys. I'll just stop for a second. Does anyone have questions about those gap fills? You guys all know where to mark them out on your charts, right? I'll leave it
Sean,
open.
are these guys mainly playing like sub tens or large caps as well?
A lot of sub tens, yeah. We're playing a lot of sub tens, a lot of low floats. So again, guys, remember green candles. That's your open. That's your close. Oh, sorry, that's your open. That's your close. That's your open. That's your close on your red candle. So there's obviously opposite. Obviously, we know that. So okay, cool.
So would you have stopped out there on NVIDIA with the first? Because it looks like within the first 15 minutes, it tested the previous day's close, and then it looks like it went up for a little bit, but then came down. And
Doctor, right here, right in this area here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, this is a tough play, man. I don't like these huge candles. You know, these are super rangy candles. So this, you have to play like these large caps completely different than we play the small caps. You really do. There's a whole different strategy when approaching these things. Look how big these candles are, man. They're
so. You know, would you not have took a long at the gap close right there?
You could have. You talking about right in here, like when it comes back up to the gap close to start pushing up.
So the first time it hit the gap close right there, and then it has that huge green candle.
Right here?
Yeah, it looks like it broke above that. So the next 2 minutes over, it looks like it broke above it for a little bit, wicked up, and then came back down. So do you think that if you would have longed it there, you would have stopped out?
Yeah, so let me show you. This is actually a good segment on what I wanted to get into today about setups. I wouldn't have taken this setup long because this right here is a completely different setup that I want to introduce you guys to. And I got a whole bunch of examples I want to show you guys, and we can you guys can throw a bunch of questions out at me. In these videos, you've seen me mentioning moving average pullbacks, bull flags and bear flags. Bull flags and bear flags, I'm sure all you guys know what they are. We'll go over some examples. But what I want to open your guys' eyes to are moving average pullbacks. On my charts, guys, I use my VWAP that Mike's taught us to use, but I also have, again, I have my 20 EMA and I have my 9 EMA. These moving average pullbacks and bear flags and bull flags, for me, mainly, I base them on the 5-minute chart, well, also the 1-minute chart, but I'll show you examples of each. So whenever you get a big move down, and you have this EMA on your charts, you'll see me mentioning in the chart in the chat room how extended it is. And what I'm referring to, guys, is how extended it is off this moving average right here. I use this moving average a lot on setups. I'm going to show you a bunch of examples. So the first ones I want to show you guys are moving average pullbacks. Okay, so moving average is in reference to the 9 EMA right here. And that's the white line you see. So if you throw this on your charts at night and you study it, you'll see these plays pull up all the time. So we have a big violent move down, and the same is on the way up. They're the exact same on the way up. You're just inverted. So in this application, we have a big move down. We're extended off the 9 EMA. Now what I want is consolidation back to the 9 and touch it. And I'm looking for the first candle to make the new low to push down for the second leg in this case. In the other case, if I'm going long, it would be the first candle to make the new high. But this is nice consolidation. We're just consolidating sideways. This would take, this is the 1-minute chart, so this would be a 5-minute setup. So big move down, comes back up. We're consolidating sideways. I'm still bearish on this thing, so I'm looking for it to hit the 9 EMA to see what it's going to do. And it moves back down for another leg to the downside. Again, we curl up, we bust up on a big move, we're extended off the 9 EMA, this thing consolidates sideways. I mean, there's moves in here, you can take little scalps and everything, but I'm waiting for a bigger move, right? So I'm trying to let this thing set up. So it consolidates sideways, it gets back right to the 9 EMA, first candle to make that new high as soon as it touches right here, longing for the break of this guy right here, the break of this candle right here. And then you long right here, sell for the pop, or you can hold for a nice move up. This right here, 176.94. This was a nice dollar move on 3 minutes. But then this thing kept going. So what happens after a big move, guys? We have consolidation back to the 9 EMA. This thing's just stair-stepping up, right? Here we have a nice little pop. We didn't get all the way here, but then this thing decided to push back up. And then what we have again, guys, is consolidation sideways back to the moving average. Breaks through, first candle to make the new high right here, bust through for another move up to the downside. I mean, you could have played this, you could have taken profits quickly, or you could have played price action the whole way up.
Did you play PLAG today?
I think, yes, I did play PLAG today. Where did I play PLG? I covered, hang on here. I'll get to PLAG because there's actually some setups. I want to show you some more examples of these bear flags and bull flags. I believe there's more examples in here. I've got a whole bunch of them written down here. So give me a sec here, guys. Moving average pullbacks. NVIDIA, oh yeah, okay, so NVIDIA on the open, I think that's the one we were just looking at on a nice moving average pullback. And reverse to the upside. Okay, we got that. I want to try to find some more examples of these moving average pullbacks. Does that make sense to you guys? I'm trying to find some examples on some sub $10 tickers. But when I'm talking about extended, as I'm referencing to the 9 EMA. Okay, so I run these charts after a big move. If I miss this big move, or if I manage to get it down here and I see how extended it is, I'm going to wait for it to consolidate back. And if you're using the 5-minute chart, sometimes this could take like 20 minutes to set up, and it's consolidating sideways. And I'm just waiting for it to hit the moving average, and I'm also looking for volume to come back in. So as you can see, the volume is starting to come back in here. You see an increase of volume. That's a sign to me that this thing's getting ready to push back up.
So why the 9 versus the 4?
The 9 EMA to me just seems to be like the moving average that works on, to me, that is, it's almost like a universal moving average for me. I use it on the large caps, mid caps, and small caps as well.
You find it more consistent?
I find it very consistent. I find when stocks, especially on the mid and larges, when they tend to make a big move, they'll hug that 9 EMA. Like once the 9 EMA can cross to 20 in the VWAP and it starts to separate, as you can see right here, these stocks tend to push up with the 9. It's almost like it hugs it on the way up. It works really well for my charts. It's what I'm used to referring to, and I've never looked at the 4. Maybe I'll throw it on there tonight and kind of see what it does. But does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys? Extended from being away from the 9 EMA. Yes, sir. So right here, skits, we push up. We're far extended. I want this thing closer over here, right? So we push up, push up, push up. That was a nice big move. Okay, the stock needs to rest for a little bit, right? It's extended. It's just had a nice big move. So I'm waiting for this thing to move sideways back for support. Pushing up, back. Gets support here at the 9, pushes up. Does that make sense? That makes sense, Skits? You understand? I see. And the buy point you're referring to is the crossovers. It's not really a buy point. Typically I like to see the consolidation pretty flat, pretty flat. But I'm referencing the volume coming back in. I'm waiting to see the volume pick up here as we get closer to the 9. You see that? See how the volume started to increase as we got closer to the 9 EMA?
Once it popped that VWAP, that's when it really shot up there on NVIDIA. We watched it double top at the high of day, the previous high of day yesterday, and that's where we really went short on this.
Mm-hmm.
We went back, we faded it back into VWAP, and then it cracked.
Yep.
I think Corey covered around 175s, 176 from a 179.
Yeah, Corey had a nice play on this today. It was pretty wicked. I forget where he got it. It was a nice play. So guys, it's got it, volume to confirm. Yeah, you're waiting for volume to confirm, because once it consolidates sideways, you're looking for the volume to come pouring in to push that stock up, make a new high, and continue on a next leg up. Awesome. And then guys, it's the exact inverse opposite on the short side. So here's kind of an example right here, just why I got the stock open. Big move down. We're way far off this 9 EMA. You see this? So if I miss this move, or if I'm in this move already, I want to see this thing consolidate, and I'm watching it to push back to the 9 EMA, and I'm looking for another drop, another leg down to see how it reacts. It could have a reaction and push back up, but after a big move like this, I'm looking for the next leg down. So if I miss this one, or if I'm already in it, I'm waiting to see what it does when we get back down, because it's not going to keep going like this. Like it has to pull back. You know, eventually it has to pull back, be in a pullback, which is what we'll look at next, like an actual pullback, or consolidation sideways towards the 9 to test it, and then to continue to the downside. So I hope that makes sense. Use that info and go through your charts and use it as you start looking for the pattern. Trust me, you'll see it, especially on the low caps, because when they consolidate sideways, they'll be really flat. It'll be a nice smooth over. There won't be like these huge ones on NVIDIA where you have like a lot of range on the consolidation. So I know these next ones are pretty basic, guys. Do you guys all know bear flags and bull flags and how to play them? I'm guessing you guys do. I'm going to bring up, let me see here. I'm going to bring up SFET, because SFET was a great example this afternoon when it was pushing up. Some great bull flags. Okay, and guys, I use the 9 EMA on the 5-minute and 1 minute for my bull flag setups. So again, guys, this afternoon, right in during power hour, this thing was pushing up. So a huge move up, and look, we pull away from our moving average. And again, I use these for these setups. Okay, we're way far extended off this thing. Double tops. I'm not going to chase it here. If I'm looking along it, I'm not going to chase it. I want this thing to pull back. And instead of consolidating sideways, this is the pullback. This is the bear flag setup. Pull back. Lower high, lower high, lower high. And then we have more of a moving average pullback where it's consolidating sideways. Boom. You're going to long this thing. Look at the volume. It pours in on this candle. This is what you're looking for. Pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back, consolidation sideways, and you're moving your entry on each candle. So here, if you're on this candle, okay, this next candle, I'm going to long it for here. You could have gotten faked out right here, but you want to wait for it to get back here. You don't want to play it here. You want it to get right back to the moving average. So once it touches the moving average, that's where you're looking for the volume to come pouring in, because there's thousands of other people that are looking for this setup. So it just pulls back. You're waiting for it to hit. As soon as it hits, this candle closes, immediately you're set, I'm longing this thing for the break at 385. And that's exactly what happened. Pulls back, I'm longing this thing. It touches, I'm longing this thing for the break at 385. You're looking for the volume to come pouring in. You could have longed that thing right there, sold for the quick pop. That was a nice setup. 385 to 423. And then again, guys, what happens after a nice big move? It consolidates back over to our moving average. Doesn't quite get there, but then it curls back up. Curls, keeps pushing back up. It didn't get all the way to the 9. There was a lot of volume coming in. It was just pushing up.
So you're saying the body needs to touch the 9, not the wick?
I like it when the corner of that body hits the wick. Like if I'm watching consolidation, I want it to pull all the way over. This is the candle that I'm really watching. Like if this thing closes and doesn't break, then I'm really watching this candle right here, because this is the candle that I want to see. I want to see it get here, and I want to see it close here, and then I want to see a push up. So it could have broken right here. It didn't break right here. This is the candle I'd be looking for it to break. So now I'm watching this candle. This one didn't go. Now I'm definitely watching this candle. And what happened? The volume poured in, man, and just went pew. Make sense?
Yep.
So that's how I use the movement. That's how I use the 9. You know, the 9, you can use these on 5-minute setups, 5-minute bear flag, 5-minute bull flag, 5-minute bear flags and bull flags to the downside. Same thing on the downside here, guys. So here we go. Drop. Big drop. What happens? We're extended off the 9. I'm looking for this thing to consolidate back to the 9 for the next leg down. You see that? So if you caught this nice drop right here, you could still be holding this thing, letting it consolidate back, watching for the reaction at the 9 EMA, but you know where your target is because you've got this gap fill right here. You're gunning for this gap fill. It's already shown extreme weakness. So you're just waiting for it to consolidate back to push down for the next leg down, and so on and so on. So the bear flag and moving average pullback is no different to the upside to the downside. You're just inverting it. Does that make sense to everybody? I can show some more examples here. 5-minute on CLWT. Let's bring up CLWT. I just made some notes where we can see these setups. I'm going to go to a 5-minute on CLWT, and at what time? 14:30. Let's see here. Here we go. Right here. Boom. Big move down, guys. And then what do we have? We have profit taking. So now this is what I'm talking about, the pullback. So pullback, pullback, pullback. First candle to make the new low right here. So you're longing it for the break of this candle, right? Comes back down. Higher lows, higher lows. First candle to make the new low. So your entry is right here. Does that make sense, guys, on the entry? Big move down, profit taking, pull back. We're pulling back up, and then you're looking for the first candle to make that new low. So you're catching it right here for the push back down for that next leg. Hope that makes sense. This is the 1-minute setup. Why does it say 5-minute? Let me just go to a 5-minute. Oh, that was a 5-minute setup. Okay, my chart says 1 minute for some reason. SFET 5-minute 12 o'clock. I'll bring up SFET here. My notes are saying on a 5-minute as well. SFET 5-minute at 12. I don't know about that. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I guess so. So here's a 5-minute chart here, guys. Big move up right here. Consolidate sideways. We pull back. I mean, this is kind of an ugly one to show you guys, but we just kind of consolidate here along this moving average until we get the push back up. This is kind of an ugly pattern. Ideally, I'd like this thing to lower, lower highs, pull back here, and then continue pushing up. But the 9 was we were kind of just grinding the way up. So it's not the best setup, but I hope those other ones kind of made sense. So moving average pullbacks, bear flags, bull flags, you can use them on the short side. You can use them on the long side. And I think, let's see, bear flags. See, we went over that. That's pretty much it. Okay, so I want to go over Plag. P-L-A-G. This thing, guys, this thing was running. It dumped, right? We had a big dump, and then it turned around and ran like crazy. So while this thing was running like crazy, what's the first thing that I always do, that I tell you guys that I always do? I go back in the chart history, right? I want to see if I can identify something. Where is this stock going to tank? Or not tank, but at least top out. Because the chart history, guys, what's it telling us? It's telling us that when this thing runs, it tends to give back its gains. I'll give a mulligan on this one because I remember this day. This day was just out of control. But when the very next day, what happened? Tried to run again, got smacked down. Tried to run again, got smacked down. Tried to run again, got smacked down. Close week. Gave back its gains. So the stock has a history, from what I'm seeing, that it has a history of running, but it gives back its gains and can close at the lows. Okay, so while this thing was running, I'm like, okay, I need to find out where this thing could potentially top out. So what I did, guys, is I went back in the chart history like I always do. And what I did is I found an area. I don't want to look at today's action, but what I want to show you is where I found out where this thing could top out. My dead giveaway, guys, was right here. I was looking at this area right here, and I'll zoom in on it, okay? And I'll show you all the examples of why I chose this area. So as this stock was coming down here on the daily, you know, it was doing nothing but downtrending, right? Doing nothing but downtrending. Right here, I noticed it came through, came back up, and created resistance. Okay, so now that we've broken through, it's tried to push back up. It can't push back up and immediately went to the downside. Came back up here, broke through, got smacked down. These guys, 4 straight days, tried to get through, couldn't. Every time it busted through right here, rather than this mulligan day, every time it busted right through the 7-Eleven area, it got smacked down. Every time it tried to break out past this 7-Eleven area, it couldn't do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5, it did break through, but it closed way below it. It always regained itself. Couldn't break out here. This was a nice pivot point to this downwards movement. Came back, hit it, continued on its way down. So I said, I'm going to watch the 7-Eleven area. Where did it top out, guys? It topped out at 7-Eleven. See that? So we just had to go into the chart history and dig into it. You know, it wasn't obvious, right? It took me about, 5-6 minutes to zoom in and find out and look for something that I could see, right? This is what originally brought me to it, was this 1, 2, 3, 4 days. I said, okay, they were trying to push up here, with a bit of volume, one day, 3.5 million. I said, okay, I'm going to put a line here, put it here based on these guys right here. And then I started going throughout the chart and I was looking at how many times this thing had touched, right? Here, going through here, got slammed down here, 4 times here, busted through here like crazy, but the next day I got smacked way down beneath it, tried to break out here, got smacked down beneath it, gapped up here, got smacked down beneath it. So every time that this stock, by the time it came back over, that it tried to break out through it, it really couldn't. So then I'm just watching the daily, man. I'm watching this thing push up to it. And by this time, I was done trading for the day. I wasn't really trying to mess with it. I think all my attention was on CTLW or whatever stock that was going through all the halts. But I had just marked it, right? I marked it and see if it tops out there. And it did, man. It came back up. As soon as it hit it, bearish reaction, right? Let's zoom in on here and see the reaction at the high of day. As soon as it hit it, guys, what happened? 2 big candles of pullback, right? So it hit 7-Eleven, got to a high of 719, and we had 2 candles of pullback down to 660. That's like a 50-cent pullback. That immediately would be telling me, if I was looking to finally top this stock out, that I said, okay, I want to see this area retest, okay? So we pull back, like I always say, I want it to retest. I'm looking for it to retest. It retests, tries to push through, gets up to the exact same price point, gets smacked down beneath it. So right then, after this attempt, I'm looking to go short. I would have gotten short on any of these candles right here, because if it can't break out, it's going to break down. And what does it do? By the time it retests 1, 2, 3, you had 5 minutes to get short in here, then we're starting on our downtrend down. All right. And what did history tells us? That it always gives back its gains and closes weak. And what did the stock do, guys? It closed weak and gave back all its gains. Some guys in the chat room were calling this thing to run all day. And if you just go and look at the chart history, there was only one of those days out of like the 20 times it's ran that it's actually closed strong. And the day after that, it gapped down like 13 points or 10 points or something like that. So, I mean, it's still tanking in the post market. So does that make sense to everybody? You just got to go back in the chart history, guys, and have a look around and try to identify those trends. So like we always do, gaps, we look for gaps. We're looking for trends that we can identify in the daily. If it's gapping up, what does it do when it gaps up? What's it known for doing? Is it a multi-day runner? When it runs, does it hold its gains, or is it known for giving them back and or closing at the lows, right? The more the stock repeats itself, the more the trend is strong. And that's how I predicted SFET. That's how I knew Plague was going to tank, because it was obvious. You just had to look at the daily chart, but you had to find this area. This is the tough part, was to find this 7-Eleven. Once you found that area, the rest was easy, because you're waiting for the stock to hit it, watching the reaction when it hits, and then taking action. Because once you successfully predicted the top and top ticked the top of the day, now all you're doing is watching your price action on where to take profit. I mean, you want to take profit right here, right at that first support level area where it drops, give her. Or you can aim to get it at a second support level down here. I mean, I found support a little bit more on the way down, but my overall goal, if I was shorting this, knowing that it tends to close at the lows and close very weak, I would be aiming to get down, in the 480s somewhere. And that's eventually, power hour, it got there. I mean, you could have taken it right here too at 12 o'clock. So a nice move down, man. 7-Eleven down to 480s. That's a pretty nice move. 3.5 points, something like that. No, not even 2.5 points. I don't know. I don't want to do math right now.
Can you go over the moving average on the way up on this one?
On this guy, yeah. So the moving average, what you'll guys notice, moving averages, if you're looking for them to guide you on the way up, they're not the stocks that are low cap stocks, are sub $10 stocks. They don't stay tight to them on moves up as you see with the large caps. But what they are great for are pullbacks, moving average pullbacks, bear flags, and bull flags. They're great for them. So on the way up, let's have a look at what it did. You want to look at it on the way up? So let's check it out.
Take a look at it on the way up and then the way down.
Yeah, so the moving average, if you were trying to play this, I don't see any setups for bear flags or moving average pullbacks on here. Because when it is pulling back, when it's extended, it's tending to go through it. I mean, it's bouncing off the 20 here, but I don't see a good setup here, right? How you want to see it. You want to see it like that, and then you'd like your moving average maybe here. So you pull back, and then a bounce up. So technically on this move right here, I mean, you'd want it to, you'd want to get it right here and have this candle shoot up, right? But the moving average, had a different plan. So for me, I don't see a good setup here, right? For those. The best setup was waiting for it to hit high a day, if you could identify that. On the way down, we have some nice moves. So here's your big drop right here. Here's a nice bear flag. One candle, 2 candles of taking profit, then it consolidates sideways back to the moving average, boom, for another drop down. That's a nice example right there. But the rest of the chart, as far as it's pretty ugly. Here's a nice moving average pullback on the short side. Big move down, consolidate sideways, right back to the 9 EMA, boom, for another drop. One candle consolidation, back to the 9, boom, another drop. You guys seeing that? Does that make sense?
Right.
Awesome. All right, Cooper, we'll see you later too. Sorry if I already missed you. I didn't say bye, but this is kind of an ugly chart. I don't see a nice setup for those plays. Let's switch to a 5-minute and see if we might have seen something better there. Let's have a look at Plague on the 5. So a little bit better here. So here you have a big move right here. You got 2 candles of pullback. Ideally, you'd want this candle a little bit smaller, and you'd be longing it for the break of the body, right? First 5-minute candle to make the new high. So bust up, 2 candles of pullback. Your entry would be right here. Sell it for the pop. Here's 1 candle pullback. I mean, these are big candles. This thing was moving pretty good, right? You remember this? It was moving. That squeeze up was pretty crazy. So technically, I mean, you'd like to have these candles a lot smaller, especially on these pullbacks. You'd maybe like to see 3 or 4 of them, smaller ones, with not so much range. But But that's a better setup. So that's your 5-minute chart right there. Big move up, pull back, back to the 9 EMA. I'd like to see this candle like maybe half the size, and you'd just be longing it for the break. But then your entrance would be right here for this one. You're longing it for the break of the body.
So the moving average plays just like the ABCD plays?
Yeah, I mean, I don't play ABCD. I'm not really on the lookout for that pattern. But what you're looking for in those moving average pullback is just, once you've identified that the stock is extended off that moving average, you want to wait for that thing to consolidate back. Like here's a move right here. I mean, it's kind of ugly, but we have a big move down, and look how far we are off the 9 EMA, right? We're very extended. So then we have sideways consolidation. Once we get to the 9, I mean, we got to it there too and there, so this is kind of ugly, but you get to the 9, and then you're looking for the next move down because you already had a nice violent move down. You're looking for continuation, but the stock needs to rest, right? So you're just looking for it to pull over for that support and then push back down for another move to the downside. So, and like I said, it's the exact same to the upside. It felt like the MM was crushing shorts. Yeah, this was a rough play, man. I had a quick play in here. I forget where I played. I played it early, very early. I think I covered into here. I'm pretty sure that's where I covered, and I got out because this stock is known for turning around and squeezing up. Once I started squeezing up, I said, I was trying to figure out on the daily. I'm just like, where's this thing going? I was watching like here. I was watching here. This guy right here for it to taper out, and I said I got to go into the chart history, and actually there's just too much. It was pushing up too crazy, so went into the chart history, zoomed out, found that area, ticked it, and just played off that and waited until the stock got there. I mean, if it broke out through there, we'd be watching these areas right here, 95s, 880s, 875s, 954s, if it could push up there, or we go back further in the stock and see if there was something also a little bit closer in this area. Awesome. All right, see you later, Alexis. We'll see you later. I'll just pause for a second here, guys. That's basically the majority of stuff I wanted to go over. I hope that info helped. That CT, was it CTRM? That's the one I really wanted to share with you guys. That blew my mind today, man. I was like, wow, CLWT, that sent me for a loop. It was crazy. So I'll just stop for a sec here. I'll look at the chat, or if anyone wants to hop on the mic and ask any questions or go over some charts, we can bring up some charts and mess around.
Well, I learned a shit ton today. So I appreciate you. I appreciate it. First Zoom call I jumped on with you, Sean. So
awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And like I said, it's a good thing about that we have in the room there is that we have a bunch of people that trade differently, right? Like, but we all have, some core foundations, and we can all learn from each other, right? So, I tend to approach the stocks a lot different than a lot of the other people do on the chat room, but it's cool because we can all learn from each other. So I'm glad I was able to help, and we'll keep doing these. We'll do these every day. And if there's any charts you guys want to bring up and that you were confused about, maybe that you were seeing stuff you weren't sure on your plays or whatever, like, let's bring them up. So you guys want to look at anything?
Hey, Sean, this is Gary. I was just wondering, I came in late and then I saw that chart that had the big red downturn and then went green. I was wondering what chart, what stock was that again?
This one right here. Was it PLAG or was it?
No, it sold way off and then reversed and then it went way green. It was in the beginning of the meeting, somebody mentioned it and then they looked at that.
Went way green.
It sold right off, and it was a big downtrend, and then back up. I don't know if it was a daily or if it was a interdaily.
Oh, was it SFET here? We're pushed up into the aftermarket. Or sorry, back into the close. Sure. This guy right here.
No, it was a big. No? It was like a giant V. One side was red, one side was green.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about PCG. That was the gap close reversal.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, this is a fucking beauty. This is a really nice trade, man. If anyone caught this guy right here. So what this is the one you're referring to, right?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so what this was a gap close reversal. So on the daily chart, we had a gap to fill right here at this closing price right here, around that 1550s. Okay, you see that closing price right here? We gapped up. We haven't been down there since. So you're wide. You have this area set up. Maybe you have an alert set on your platform. So on the intraday action this morning, when the market opened, the thing just sold off like crazy and sucked it right down to the gap fill. Look at this. So we opened right here and it was nothing but red, hugging the 9 EMA all the way, nothing but red. And as soon as it hit that gap fill level, man, it had an epic double bottom and a huge bounce all the way back up.
Well, that would have been a game changer for sure.
Yo, fuck, such a nice trade, man. Such a nice trade. I don't think it was on my gap scanner this morning. I don't know if it was on anybody else's gap scanner. So yeah, that was a nice. It doesn't get any cleaner than that, man. It just does not get any cleaner than that. It's so nice.
Sean, do you have post-market activity set?
Yeah, I do.
RH is having a gap close reversal on this earnings right now. It hit 108.40s, and it's reversing off.
Oh, look at that. Nice call, Joe. Let's check it out. Where do we got this guy? What are we looking here?
That gap.
Where is it? I don't see it.
It's a small little gap. It never completely filled from 1224. Down there, right there.
Right here.
That red candle.
Yeah, good call. There it is right here. You guys all see that? There we go. So this thing's in post market right now.
It's dropped down huge.
Oh, it did fill it. Oh, it filled it.
It just filled it.
Yeah, it just filled it.
It's having a reversal off.
Look at that, guys. They're live in action. Good call, Joe. I guess we'll be watching this tomorrow, hey?
Yeah, I'm watching it like a hawk. It jumped to 140 and it dumped to 108.
Wow. All right, you guys see that? You see how it was a magnet? So you have this huge drop off, man. But where does it stop? Like it could stop anywhere along this chart. It could stop here. It could stop at this guy. It could stop here. It could stop here. It could stop here. It could stop here. Where does it stop? It stops here at the gap fill level. And as soon as it hits it, what do? We have a battle here. We have a small bounce, and now it looks like it's pushing back up to the upside. So great. Yeah, laughing my fucking ass off. Wow. Yeah. Good call, Joe. That was actually cool to see, man. Huge. This will be an interesting play tomorrow.
It double topped at 140 and it just tanked.
Yeah. Yep. And I guess this is earnings, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But yeah, guys, like I said, it could stop anywhere along this daily chart. It's just selling off like crazy. It could stop anywhere along here, but where does it stop? It stops right here because it's the gap. I keep telling you guys, it's like they're like magnets, man. You just got to make alerts inside your platform, whatever platform you're using. Anytime you see these alerts, you just don't play a gap because it filled. I mean, you have to have the volume, right? You have to have the volume. So if you have volume playing on the stock, it closes that gap, you're going to see that reaction. Mike wants to see NVDA. What do you want to see on NVDA, Mike? What do you want to check out? Is there anything in particular you want to see? Or they had questions about? I think Joe played this thing, so if you got questions about the play today, he's probably the guy you want to chit chat with. I'll wait for you to type if you're still here. I'll just give Mike a second to reply. No, I thought that was stock. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, no, I think it was PCG he was talking about. Was it? It was PCG. It had to have been. Because that was as clean as it gets. Pros wants to load up KSS. What do you want to look at KSS there, Pros? What do you want to check about? What do you want to look at? Let's see what it did today. Oh yeah, gap up, closed at the lows, closed the gap, and kept running. That was a nice. Yep.
That one's a gap and go to fill the gap below. There's another gap below at
it sure is
68.90. Watch her reverse off that.
Exactly. So guys, again, it gapped up this morning, got to a high of the VWAP, came back down to the gap that it formed today, which is right here, gap close and go to close the gap below. Does that make sense, guys? It gapped up this morning. This is where we opened. We popped it the morning, got stuffed at VWAP at 71.41, came back down. We closed this gap, gap close and go, and it keeps going to fill the gap below. Gaps, 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 gaps all day, bro. Gaps all day. So does that make sense, Praz? Does that make sense to you? Like, we can look at the intraday action too and see what it did. Let's see what it did. It was a spike right in the morning. You betcha. So look at this. It spiked. So it spiked. This was VWAP right here on the daily chart. Remember, we were just looking at it. So it spiked, hit VWAP on the daily, came back down, failed. And where's it going to go? It's going to push down. So when it filled the gap here, what did it do? It had a reversal. It did hit it and bounced up, right? Found a ceiling there at the 20 EMA, came back down, eventually retested that gap close area, broke through, curled around, retested it for resistance, held resistance, and then it just keeps going down to the downside to fill this gap right here. Easy peasy. I PM you about my entry. Oh yeah, that's right. Let me just see. Give me one sec here, guys. See if did you PM me with your entry, or are you gonna send it to me later? We can go over it later. It's all good. It's not a problem. But awesome, guys. Good good throwdown. Is there anything else you guys want to go over? You guys want to look at some charts? I'll just wait a sec, see if anyone wants to wrap. I don't play low float. Yeah, too crazy. Yeah, low floats are crazy, man. They are crazy. They're a whole different animal. What else? Joe, you played something else today too. Weren't you in Twillo? TWLO?
Yeah, I took Twillo for VWAP crack. That one dropped almost a point instantly.
Yeah, let's have a look at where you played this bad boy. You were right at the
1025.
Yeah, so you were
30.
right. Yeah, right here. This is a nice play right here. So you took it right here, I'm imagining, right? Nope. 1030. Where was your entry?
I took it on.
You took it to the short side or upside?
I took it short on with a VWAP crack.
So over here.
I
Oh
think,
no.
let me.
Or you took it right at the open.
I took it the second time it broke down at 1040.
Oh, probably right in here. 1046, 47.
Yeah, I took it. Yeah, after the open range was done and it put in its open range, I took it because it still had more range left in it.
And that was like right in one of these candles here.
I took it on 1045 was my trigger. So I got triggered on 1040 on the 5 minute, and then I took it on the micro pullback.
Yeah.
On 1045.
Yeah, right here.
Took it right as it crossed.
So then here's another example, guys, of a moving average pullback. Here's a perfect example of that flat consolidation. So you got to push through right here. Nice move down, breaks through support, push down, consolidates sideways back to the 9, and then for another move down. Consolidates flat, sideways back to the 9, another move down. You guys see that shit? Yeah, Gary says, wow. See that? Stair stepping its way down. So Joe had a nice play on Twillo today. And those are nice examples of moving average pullbacks. You see how they're not pulling back in profit, but they're consolidating sideways to the moving average. Does that make sense, guys? Those are some.
Would you say when you see that candle touches the 9, that like the last 5 seconds when you're watching the tape, if it's going to close to be a bearish candle, you should probably jump in there? Would that be a good approach?
Yeah, see, if I'm playing a moving average pullback, I want to let it get here. I would let this candle close, right? And then I'm shorting the next candle to make the new low. I mean, technically, you could have shorted it right here because it's, it made the new low right here. But we got back. We almost touched the 9 there. You could have gotten short right here, or you could have gotten short for the break of this guy right here if you wanted to play it safe.
Right.
Make sense? Just like, I mean, you're shorting this basically for the crack of support, right? And you got pullback for the next move down right here, pulls back to the 9. First candle to make the new low right here. You go short right here, cover into the drop. And I think this thing just like,
I covered on that flat bottom there when it double bottomed there.
Right here?
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
got to extend it from the 9 a bit, so I
Yeah.
just took profits there.
Yeah. And then you see, guys, it just kept doing moving average pullbacks, man. Like this whole way down, boom, boom, another move down, boom, consolidate back here, another drop. And then we started to move to the upside. So large caps with 9 EMA. So for the large caps, you prefer the body only touching the 9 EMA, not the wick. So skits like these, man, me and Joe and a few other guys have been trying to like tear apart these large caps for a long time. You know, we have several different ways to approach them, and they're a completely different animal how they trade, man. We've been playing with, you know, closing VWAP crack, VWAP pops, closing over the 9, you know, moving average crossings, and I think we're getting close. Joe and this other guy Corey, you know, they're really kind of getting a good handle on it. I'm not there yet. I'm kind of learning a little bit more from them on how they're trying to crack the code, but there's definitely a science to how these things move and how they do. But the good thing about it, yeah, staying away for now, but the good thing about it, man, is that the plays are the same. So bear flags, bull flags, and gaps. These things respect the gaps. If you go in those other videos, like Joe, you remember that fucking gap close reversal off BA I showed these guys? Remember that one? How crazy that was?
For what was it, 362?
Yeah, and it was like a 40 point bounce in like an hour or something like that. It was just ridiculous. But these things, it doesn't matter how big the ticker is. It's this one right here. See, came back down, closed the gap right here at 365. None of us were watching it. We were watching it, but we weren't watching it. If we watched it, we would have nailed this gap close reversal. What did it do? It washed out to here, and it bounced for 40 fucking points.
It moved 37 points.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was an absolutely crazy move. But these bigger tickers, guys, like they all do respect the gaps. And, you know, if they're pivot points in the stocks and gaps, you're going to even get a huger move. So they're kind of a whole different animal. And I'm not there with them yet. And we're still trying to learn. But I hope you guys picked up. Algo scared the shit out of me for those stocks. Yes. That's why you got to play the open. You don't take anything midday, and if you want to look at something during power hour, give her. But just like those low cats, man, play the open. You know, give her that first hour, maybe first half hour, and then, you know, look to be done with it. So, you guys got any more questions? Anything else you guys want to look at? We'll wrap her up. We'll just wait for a sec. Okay, I guess that's it, guys. We'll shut her down here, guys. I'll get the video rendered. I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll place it in the room there, and then we'll do the whole dance again tomorrow. And hope you guys learned some shit. And yeah, guys, we'll see you in. Yeah, no problem, Bobby. Awesome. We'll see you guys all in the pre-market there tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.
Cool. Thanks again.
All right. Ciao.
Later.